how do we reclaim a sense of worthiness? How do we value ourselves? So if you're somebody who struggles with feeling worthy, if you struggle with feeling not enough, then keep watching. This is for you. Hi, I'm Karina. And I'm so happy to talk to you today about this topic of finding or reclaiming our worthiness. So if you're watching this, likely you've done some work on yourself. You might be a yogi or a meditator, or you're a person who's interested in personal growth. And you're clued in some way to the fact that you suffer from something so many of us suffer from in certain areas of your life. You have low self-worth. It might be in your job, it might be in your relationship, it might be in some other area of your life, but you know you're not valuing yourself. And you know that by not valuing yourself, it's creating suffering for you and the people that are in your life. So how do we move beyond this patterning? You sense that not valuing yourself is becoming a problem because you might sense that, maybe you're not making as much money as you really think you're worth. Maybe you feel like you get taken advantage of in relationships because you're people pleasing all the time and you're not valuing yourself or putting yourself first, but yet you can't seem to break the pattern. But what do you do about it? Many of us have tried different things, and yet this may still be a lingering problem for you. So let's talk about sort of the anatomy of low self-worth and also what we can do to help shift it, to help find worthiness. Now, you likely know that worthiness is already here, Everything that we need is here within. That's not the problem. So we don't need to get worth. We're already worthy. We just don't realize it. So it's really in the realizing it part. It's in the waking up this self-worth that we begin to reclaim it and own it again. Benefits of having self-worth include, making the money that we feel like we're worth, having relationships that are actually reciprocal, where we feel free to be who we are, and we also feel okay to say no. Setting boundaries. All of these are things that we begin to reclaim when we begin to dial in and cultivate our inherent self-worth or worthiness. So the first piece of this is really just awareness. If we want to find our worthiness, we need to just start being aware of the mental stories, of the thoughts that we're telling ourselves. So we need to bring the light of awareness through. We need to actually get we need to get really clear about the ways in which we diminish and judge and are just in general really hard on ourselves. With awareness, we begin to get clear about the thoughts and the beliefs and the behaviors that are keeping us back, that are keeping us from fully expressing the truth of who we are, because all of us are called to live in alignment with our soul. You're called to it, I'm called to it, every being on the planet is called in this direction. And so as we begin to cultivate these inherent qualities within, and today we're talking about worthiness, as we cultivate this, we begin to feel better because we're realizing the truth of who we are. So the first step is awareness, being aware. And one of the tools that I love for this is meditation. Now, if you don't have a meditation practice, check out my YouTube channel, subscribe to it. You're probably watching this video on YouTube. I have many meditations beginning at 10 minutes and then moving all the way up to 30 minutes. So begin with 10 minutes of meditation a day. Meditation is such a good way to begin to illuminate what's going on. We can't shift our patterning if we don't know what it is. So step one is awareness, okay? Many of you might already have that. You might be super clear about the ways that you sabotage yourself, about the boundaries you need to draw that you don't. You may be really aware, but you're still stuck. Now I'm going to give you some tools that you can use to begin to shift away from unworthiness and move towards worthiness. And it's not the way that you think. So most of us, when we have some awareness about what's going on, we get into fixing it, right? You know what I'm talking about. You know, affirmations are one way that we try to fix worthiness. You know, we tell ourselves that we're valuable. We fight our judgmental thoughts. We wrestle with ourselves in this sort of default conditioning pattern that many of us find ourselves in. You people pleasers out there, you know what I'm talking about. And so our usual ways for finding worthiness don't work very well. And why is that? This is important. It doesn't work because there's still a part of our being that doesn't accept it, right? Even as you're listening to this, you might notice that there's a part of you that questions what I'm saying. But just notice the mind and what the mind does. And there's this part of you is actually a really important part. But when we get on this kind of self-improvement kick that a lot of us get on, immediately we begin to be aggressive and sort of push away that part of us that doesn't buy any of this, that really is attached to the sense of unworthiness. It's that aspect of our being that will undermine our attempts to find our self-worth. So what we need is a whole nother approach. And that approach has to bring about the part of ourselves that doesn't really believe it or trust it. You could call it like that doubting part of our being. This doubting part of our being isn't wrong. This doubting part of ourselves isn't wrong. Actually, it was born out of a need to survive. So if we can't sort of bypass the one within that doesn't believe in its own in worthiness, you know, if we can't bypass it, which we've tried, right, and it doesn't work, then what is the approach that we need to take? So rather than arguing with that voice of doubt, so important, rather than arguing with that voice of doubt, we take the middle ground. We do two things. We bring compassion to the one inside that's doubting. I'm closing my eyes and putting my hand on my heart. Because whenever you notice that tape going, or if you're feeling in your body that tight grip of unworthiness, when it gets kicked up, you just like be with it, not arguing with it, just like, I know you're here. Welcome. Second piece, throughout your day, show that part of you that doesn't believe the ways that you have been worthy. So every day, you're paying attention to what you did well. You're paying attention to where you're just doing a really good job. You're just really acknowledging all of the good that you do. You see, because those of us who suffer from feelings of unworthiness and low self-worth, we're not recognizing the ways that we actually are showing our worthiness. We're pushing them under the rug because our attention is hyper-focused on what's wrong. So what we want to do is move that lens over and start to notice what's right. Just notice, wow, I was really, I was kind to that person. Or, it was hard for me, but I got up early this morning and I went on my workout. Or, I was kind to my coworkers today. Or, that was a hard problem and I solved it. Or, I've been dreading doing that task, but I did it. You cannot wait for worthiness to happen to you. You can't search for it because it's already here. the same energy that goes searching for it is the same energy that is the root of unworthiness. So we're trying to solve a problem through the problem, and that doesn't work. So we need to show that doubting part of us, which is really just like a wounded child. It's just a wounded child who learned to doubt the worthiness that they were born with for a lot of different reasons, and we can go into that in another video. But let's just assume that it's an old sort of wounded part of you that still is really tied and invested to an identity of unworthiness. Might be even frightened of doing anything in opposition to it. So we've got to bring that part of us on board. And as we're noticing what we do well, we invite that doubt to see it as well. Almost just like showing a child, like, look at this. Not arguing with it, not telling that part of us that it's wrong, just showing. The more that we do that, the more we awaken our inherent worthiness. Because we have to wake it up. For some of us, for many of us, it's just sleeping. And it's been sleeping for a long time. So beginning to notice what you do right. Acknowledging it, writing it down, and working with it. You know, this is not, there's no magic pill for this. But like anything worthwhile, it takes work, it takes courage, and it takes a dedication to the most important being in your life, which is you. So just to summarize again, meditation to highlight awareness, becoming aware of the voice of judgment and self-doubt and unworthiness within. Not arguing with it or fighting it, recognizing that it comes from an old wounded place within, tenderly caring for that place within that's hurt, maybe even connecting with the visceral sense in the body, bringing compassion to ourselves, and then noticing. Notice what you do well, notice what you do right. There's nothing too small. Just this practice is a practice of self-worth. So the more we work in this way, the more we build our self-worth, and the more of a habit it becomes, until eventually you just notice that you're noticing what you're doing right. And when we notice what we're doing right, we value ourselves. I hope that helps. And if you'd like more, if you want to work more with me, if you'd like more teachings like this, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll leave a link below here so you can subscribe to my newsletter as well and be kept up to date on all of my videos and teachings and freely offered material, including meditations as I make them and become available. If you'd like to work deeper with me, you might be interested in an upcoming program I have called Reclaim Your Peace, which is a 12-week meditation program to awaken the heart of ease, peace, worthiness, vitality, and joy, purpose. It's a blend of really time-tested and research-based, really practical tools that you can apply, as well as private one-on-one work sessions with me so that you can gain insight and guidance to help you work through those blocks that may be keeping you stuck in sort of repetitive patterns and loops despite the work that you are already or have done on yourself. So if you're interested in that program, then I'll leave a link below as well where you can sign up or schedule an appointment with me. I think that's it. So good to see you. Sending you much love and many, many blessings. Namaste.